Amateur Traveler is in its 20th year now, but can you imagine if I had people on the show who had never been to the destination but had just read about it or seen a movie about it? That wouldn't make any sense at all, and you wouldn't listen. We all know how important it is to receive advice from people who know a destination to get the most authentic local experience. And a great option for experiencing this is Explore Worldwide and their authentic small group adventures, led by local tour leaders, perfect for solo travelers who want to meet like minded people with a desire for adventure. I'm often an independent traveler, but two of my last three trips were with small group tours because they organize everything and it's a lot easier. If you want to recreate the tour I did to Malta, they have a Malta and Gozo Discovery Tour. I'm intrigued by one of their tours called A Taste of Sicily. The company again is Explore Worldwide, and visit exploreworldwide.com to learn more. And thanks to Explore Worldwide for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler. The nights are long, the days are short, and the weather is chilly to downright cold, depending on where you are. It's a good time to slip into a Quince iconic Mongolian cashmere sweaters, which start at only $50. You can treat yourself to everyday luxury at an affordable price with Quince. If you really want to dive into luxury, you can check out their leather handbags, washable silk shirts, and European linen sheet sets. Whatever you're looking for at Quince, all the prices are 50 to 80% less than similar brands, and they do that by partnering directly with top factories and cutting out the middleman. They only work with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing processes. And of course, they use premium fabrics and finishes for that luxury feel in every piece. But you've already heard me rave about my Quince travel pants. Treat yourself this winter without the luxury price tag. Go to quince.com/traveler for 365-day returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Got my bags packed, I'm on a roll. I'm heading out there and I'm ready to go. I'm looking real good in my passport photo. Oh, no.
Amateur Traveler, episode 685. Today, the Amateur Traveler talks about beaches and monkeys and macaques, temples and night markets and pad thai as we go to Krabi, Thailand. Welcome to the Amateur Traveler. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. Let's talk about Thailand. I'd like to welcome to the show Annette Fortner from chaseforadventure.com, as well as the YouTube channel of the same name. Annette has come to talk to us about a region of Thailand. Annette, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I'm really, really excited to be here and be sharing this beautiful slice of the planet.
And where are we talking about in Thailand?
So we are talking about Krabi, Thailand. It is a province in the southwest side of Thailand that has absolutely beautiful beaches and cliff sides, amazing food, and more culture than you could possibly want, stuffed in the tiniest little spot.
And what is your connection with Krabi?
So when my husband and I sold everything to travel the world full time, we didn't know much except for the fact that Thailand was cheap. We bought one-way tickets to Bangkok, Thailand, because they were the cheapest furthest tickets that we can get from home, and we really wanted something different. Well, after spending 2 weeks in Bangkok and realizing that the city life was way too much for us, if you've been to Bangkok, you know what I'm talking about.
It's a little intense.
A little intense and culture shocking when you're first coming there from like the Western world and this is like your first interaction with Asia. So we had heard from some friends about this place called Krabi, that it's really cool. There's some nice beaches. And I grew up in Miami, Florida. So that was something that was very appealing to me, right? Being by the ocean and seeing islands. Well, we flew down there in what originally we thought was going to be just a 3-day trip. And we ended up extending for 3 consecutive weeks. And now we've been back there 4 times in the last 2 years. And one of the places that I'm going to be talking about called Railay Beach, we've been back there 7 times in the last 2 years, including to celebrate our honeymoon. So I'm excited.
Well, and congratulations. And why should somebody go to Krabi?
Somebody should go to Krabi because it's so full of culture and it's small still. It's one of those places that, in a place like Thailand, where you have places like Phuket and
Hmm.
Pattaya that are coastal and beautiful and rich of culture, but stuff full of tourists, Krabi is almost undiscovered enough. It still has people and there's still enough infrastructure to make it a comfortable place to go vacation, but it's also a place where you can go and take a boat that's 10 minutes away to Railay Beach and have this beautiful cove of limestone cliffs and gorgeous sunsets and feel like you have paradise almost to yourself, especially when you're traveling there in low season, which we'll talk about.
Okay. Well, and what kind of itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
So today I'm going to be talking about a 7-day itinerary through Krabi. Most people only go there for a couple of days, so we're going to go really in depth about the beautiful places. We're going to go to some hikes. We're going to take you through some islands and some coves that you can go visit, and also some local gems that not a lot of people go to. They're about 2 hours away, and also talking about an absolutely beautifully untouched national park in Thailand.
Cool. Well, let's get started. Where are we going to start?
We're going to land in the beautiful province of Krabi, Thailand, and then head straight on to Railay Beach for day one.
So we probably flew in through Bangkok and we're catching a local Thailand airline to get down here?
Yes, and usually they're very, very inexpensive. It'll
Yep.
be about $50 to fly into Krabi, and then a $6 grab ride into the Ao Nang area, which is where the main beaches are. There's a walking street there, but for the first day, we're going to go straight to the pier, where for just $3, you can take a 10-minute longtail boat to Railay Beach. You're going to land on Railay Beach West, and immediately you are welcomed by these enormous 1,000-foot limestone cliffs that are just so dramatic, and they hug the coastline. So the moment you come in, it's almost like the cliffs are giving you a hug of welcome. You land on the beach and it's crystal clear water. You're walking through and you can already see all of the traditional longtail boats and listen to Thai music. And then as you're going through the Railay Beach walking street, on either side, you're going to have vendors trying to serve you pad Thai or tom kha gai, which are all really typical dishes of the South. And it just overwhelms the senses.
And I know pad thai, but I don't know the other one.
Okay, so tom kha gai is an amazing coconut soup dish,
Oh, okay.
and it's made with lemongrass and tomatoes and mushrooms. And you can have it with chicken, but even just the vegetarian version, it's just the perfect blend of sweet and fresh. It's one of my favorite dishes in South Thailand.
Okay. Yeah, have not been further south than Bangkok, so I don't know that. Interesting.
Oh, Chris, you are missing out. That
Yeah, I
breaks my
know, I
heart.
know. I've been to Thailand, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now, but I have not been to the beaches. So one other thing that I wanted to pause while I'm breaking in a word in, you mentioned taking Grab, so we want to have the Grab app on our phone when we get there, and that's the Thailand. Well, it's not just Thailand, but it's like Uber.
Absolutely. And the nice thing is, and we'll talk about some negotiation skills later on, in places where the Grab is too far away or hard
Yep.
to get to, we use Grab as a negotiation strategy as well. So we will put in the location, see how much the Grab drivers are charging, and then use that as a base price to negotiate with tuk-tuks or taxis.
Okay.
And that works well, especially if you're in a hurry or you need to catch a boat or you have a tour planned out and you don't have time to wait and see if your Grab is going to show up. That's a great method to get around in Thailand as well.
Okay.
So we've made it to Railay Beach. We're walking through the Railay Beach walking street. And then literally, like I mentioned, you're just overwhelmed with the southern Thailand vibes. The food, you have monkeys. They have dusky langurs in Thailand. I call them little thieves because they are these fuzzy black monkeys with white circles around their eyes. They almost look like raccoons, but they are just so sweet. They hang and perch on all of the trees above the walking street. So literally, they're maybe like 3 feet above your head, dropping leaves on you as they're munching on them. And so you're able to walk through.
And they're called them little thieves, so I'm guessing they're so sweet until they take your stuff.
So actually not those. I call them little thieves because they would look like they're wearing a ski mask.
Okay.
But they do also have long-tail macaques, which they call the Thailand mafia. Those will absolutely steal your stuff.
Got it.
So anyway, when you get to Railay Beach, we have a favorite resort that we stay at that's called the Railay Putawan Resort. It's on Railay East, which is a more quiet side. Railay West is where all of like the really absurdly expensive 5-star hotels that, you know, brush your teeth for you if you were to ask. The Railay Putawan is I believe it's a 4-star hotel, but it has an absolutely amazing view of the islands in Thailand, like Koh Phi Phi and all of the area over there on the west hand coast.
And when you talk about the islands, these are these karst mountains, fantastic things, look like they're out of some sort of special effects for a movie.
Yes, they look like you're going through Avatar.
Yeah,
It
okay.
just looks out of this world. And also, something that I didn't realize when it came to cliffs, they attract bats because there's so
Sure.
many caves.
Mm-hmm.
So at nighttime, you're sitting on the balcony, you have an infinity pool that looks over the ocean. It's framed by these absurdly enormous limestone cliffs. You're watching the monkeys from your balcony play in the trees and swing from vine to vine, and it just doesn't even look real. I told my husband last time that we were on Rayleigh West, I was like, if I had to explain to God or the universe or whatever what my paradise would look like, it would be Rayleigh Beach at sunset.
Now, you talked about having the resort with the infinity pool, and so people who haven't been to Thailand, they're thinking you're spending $400 or $500 per night or up from there. What are the rates for that kind of place in Thailand?
Oh my gosh. I think we paid $50
Okay.
at the beginning of high season for a room with a beautiful view, a balcony, and it was private and the bathroom was gorgeous. It had a bathtub that also had a window wall, but it's only one way, so people from the pool can't see in. You could literally be taking a bath and be staring at the sunset outside. It's crazy.
All right, then.
That's what you're going to be doing in the first day of Rayleigh Beach, checking into that hotel. And then as far as things to do on Rayleigh Beach, it really has something for everybody. If you wanted to just sit on the beach on Rayleigh West, which is the most popular one, or my personal favorite, which is Penang Beach, it's a little bit of a walk. It's maybe like 15 minutes off of Rayleigh West. But personally, it's just there's less people there. There's an enormous cliffside that turns into a cave that you can swim to from that beach. And also one of the more interesting bits about that beach is the fact that they have something called Penang Cave or Princess Cave. And it's actually a worshiping location for the princess god of fertility. I think it was Shiva. And fishermen would bring phallic shaped statues and put them in the cave before fishing because that was supposed to yield a fruitful fishing expedition. And so literally you walk into this giant cave of just penis statues everywhere. But it's all part of the religion and the culture, so not meant to be inappropriate, obviously.
All right, then.
Yeah. Also, on this beach, it's really common for people to go rock climbing. Rayleigh Beach and that Tonzai area, which is on the same bay, is known for having some of the best free climbing cliffs in the world because they are so textured. And so it's a great place to learn. It costs about $30 to go on one of the expeditions to go and try rock climbing for the first time. And you're trying it out on one of the most beautiful and scenic tropical locations in the world.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You mentioned a lot of boats. Are the boats that are on the beach just fishing boats, or are there water sports in the area as well?
So not so much water sports. If you're looking for things like parasailing and things like that or wakeboarding, you're not going to find that there. Not even, and honestly, I haven't even seen a banana boat. A lot of people do kayak, however, and you can rent a kayak for about $6 an hour. And that lets you go and see things like Poda and Chicken Island, which are only about 45 minutes kayaking from the Rayleigh West Beach.
And when you said banana boat, there are some people who are listening who are wondering what you're talking about.
So banana boats are those, they're literally in the shape of a banana, but people kind of straddle them and it'll be like 8 people on the back of a boat and it'll drag you and then throw you into the water.
Yep.
It goes really fast. It's one of those like bouncy adventure activities. I've never really dug it getting thrown into the middle of the ocean, especially when I know the kind of critters that live in the Andaman Sea next to this water. Even though it's super duper obviously safe to swim in the beach, they do have squid there, and that's also one of the appeals that Thailand has is they have amazing seafood, but also all of the fish down there can bite you, so you don't want to be around that.
Okay. Where to next?
After you are done kayaking or you've enjoyed the beach, Rayleigh Beach does have an amazing viewpoint that you can climb to. It's pretty steep. It takes about 10 minutes to go up the side of this cliff. There isn't any sort of guide. It's literally just ropes and do so at your own risk. And there's also a lagoon that you can go and visit, but both of those are pretty dangerous hikes. So if you're adventurous or experienced, this is a great opportunity for you to see the split that Rayleigh Beach does, seeing the pieces of land and then ocean on either side, and also seeing all of the cliffs and mountains that are in the background. It's absolutely stunning to go and see. Just a little bit more dangerous, so save it if you're extra adventurous. So after you've done all of the day activities that you want to go do, at the end of the night, I do recommend that you go and sit and see the sunset from Rayleigh West. You can see tons of people just go and gather on the beach with a blanket, staring at the sunset. And it's really nice to see just people enjoying the spectacle that the earth is putting on. It's like this last hurrah, and the sky turns hot pink and purple and orange, and you see it casting a shadow and a silhouette over Phuket in the distance. And then you can also see all of the long-tail boats just gliding through the water, trying to head back to Ao Nang as the last trip of the day. It's just one of those things that's really romantic and peaceful and surreal once you get there, because you're also surrounded by these dramatic cliffs that are huge. You just feel so small and at nature's whim, and it's a really beautiful thing to see. So now you go to sleep, you wake up on day 2. I always recommend for people to spend 2 days on Rayleigh Beach, because the first day is kind of busy. You know, you get excited, you're on the islands, you want to go into the water, you want to kayak and do the viewpoint. But I really do think that one of the beautiful things about Rayleigh West and Rayleigh in general is how peaceful and relaxing and how in nature you can be. So on day 2, I do recommend that people just take a stroll, explore the caves that are around there. It's not even like a paid cave or a guided tour. You can just walk into the sides of these cliffs, see bats, and also just relax and listen to the ocean from the water. It's just a great place to be for the day.
Well, and let's just do a little explanation here. You've been talking about Rayleigh East and Rayleigh West. The whole place that we're talking about is a peninsula that faces south. And so on one side of the peninsula is Rayleigh West, and on one side of the peninsula is Rayleigh East. And the town is above them?
So the town is in between them.
In between them, okay.
Yeah. So you would have to go through the walking street or through the resorts to get to the other side. It's very small. You can see the whole entire thing in about 2 hours if you were doing all of the hikes and climbing and going into all of the caves. But easily, if you were just trying to go from one side to the other, it takes 15 minutes walking.
Got it. Okay.
Amazing. So spend day 2 relaxing on Rayleigh Beach, whichever one you prefer, whether it's the Pranang Beach or the Rayleigh East Beach or the Rayleigh West Beach. You can have a pick from all of those. Wonderful hidden gem that a lot of people don't realize, and actually one of the things that I think that the guidebooks really miss out on, is the part of this peninsula called Tanzai. Now, Tanzai is not as popular as Rayleigh West or East or Pranang Beach because it doesn't have the amount of resorts that that area has. It's not nearly as developed. Currently, there's only one resort on that entire area. It's called the Tanzai Bay Resort. And outside of that, the ocean is full of coral. So if you wanted to go and snorkel, that's the best place to go. And if you walked all the way to the end of the beach and took a right, you're going to see a kind of trippy, sketchy road that has a lot of graffiti of people with third eyes and things like mushrooms. You go into the town and it's a proper hippie town where you'll hear a lot of Bob Marley and you'll see people smoking funny things or having happy shakes. It's an experience, and it's definitely cool to just go see what kind of like island vibes. It's a lot of Rasta bars back there. But one of my favorite things about Tanzai is because not a lot of people know about it. It's like having a slice of paradise to yourself. To get to Tanzai Beach from Rayleigh West, you actually have to wait until low tide because there's going to be a slight path on the mountain. So now let's say you arrive to Rayleigh Beach from the longtail boat. You're facing the walking street and the resorts, and you're in the water. If you were to look to your left, you're going to see one giant cliff that looks pretty impenetrable. But during low tide, you're going to see the tiniest rope coming from this cliff. And now you're going to have to climb just a little bit. It's probably like no more than 15 feet of a climb, but you're going to find a small wedge of this cliff, and you have to go through that. And then you're going to make it through a 10-minute hike that then dumps you off on this remote beach, and you're looking around going like wondering where all of the people are or if you're even allowed to be there. It's that sort of private feeling. It's really cool.
Very cool.
After you have finished on Rayleigh Beach and you've had your fill of the water, go ahead and go back for day 3 to Noparatara. So this is all in Krabi province. When you first land and get to Krabi, you're probably going to be going to Ao Nang. That's like the main party strip. There's lots of bars. That's a great area to stay if you're young, in your 20s or mid 20s, and you want to go and just like meet people and go to cool and listen to cool live music. But if you want more of a peaceful still close to everything, but away from the hustle and the bustle, I recommend that people stay in Noparatara. There's still resorts over there. I even think that there's a Ritz-Carlton now if you wanted to get very fancy. But you can find private rooms for about $15 on that Noparatara beach. And what I love about that area is you can find street food for a fraction of the price from Aonang. Even though it's just as beautiful as Aonang Beach, since everybody's over at Onang, you get to have Noparatara to yourself.
And when you say a fraction of the price, so I'm thinking eating out in Thailand from street food, I'm paying $3.
So it depends. On the
Okay.
area that I'm talking about, Noparatara, you will be paying about $2. That's the standard, about 50 baht.
Well, yeah, but I was throwing in the dollar for the mango smoothie.
Okay. Then you're right.
Okay,
On
yeah.
Aonang, you're going to be paying a little bit more. You're usually
Got
paying
it.
about between 150 and 200 baht, which comes out to about between $5 and $6 just for the meal, not including the mango smoothie.
Well, yes, but seriously, you got to have the mango
You
smoothie.
have a point. You have a point. I will say the fruit in Thailand is almost a reason to go to Thailand all in and of itself. The sweetest mangoes and pineapples I have ever had in my life have been in Thailand. And we've been to other tropical places. Like we've been to Cuba and the Philippines. And now we're in India where they're known for mango lassis. And I'm telling you, nothing is sweeter than Thai fruit. I don't understand how.
Don't undersell the mango lassies in India, but yes, I'm with you.
Okay, maybe I'm just not in mango season. It is really cold in Jaipur right now.
Yeah, okay.
So day 3, you've made it to Noparatara. I really recommend for those who feel comfortable on 2 wheels to rent a scooter while they're in Krabi. There are other ways to get around the province that doesn't involve a scooter. You can always get a van from any one of the tourist shops. I do recommend that you negotiate, though. You could hire a private driver, or you could take Grab, which, like we've already discussed, is Thailand's answer to not having Uber. And all of these are going to be pretty reasonable. The reason why I recommend for people to get on 2 wheels in Krabi specifically is A, it's very easy to drive in Krabi. It's not like Bangkok or other cities in Thailand at all. There's barely any traffic, and it's generally a safe place to learn. As a matter of fact, that's where I learned how to ride a scooter. That's where my husband learned how to ride a scooter. And friends that we've taken to Krabi since, that's where all of them have learned. And it gives you so much autonomy. And a lot of places you're going to realize it'll be a 30-minute drive to get there via scooter, but then everything else that you wanted to see that day is only like 5 minutes away. Or you'll see a market on the way to Tiger Cave Temple, which we'll discuss, that you'll want to stop off. So on day 3, my recommendation is that you rent a scooter when you're in Krabi, and then you take the beautiful drive to Tiger Cave Temple. Now, this temple is quite special for many reasons. A, it's located on top of a 3,000-foot cliff, which, yes, you have to hike up. Although the hike isn't something like super dramatic. You're not having to rappel off of this cliff, and it's not particularly dangerous. It's a staircase, but the staircase goes from regular steps to almost basically a ladder type of steps. And you're hoisting yourself up with the metal railing that's on the side. But once you get through the 1,000, almost 300 steps to the top, you have the best view of Krabi province. It takes about 30 minutes to get up there. I recommend that they bring water and snacks because once you get up there, you're just going to want to chill. They apparently, I think, have one of Buddha's shin bones up there. I don't understand what happened to this poor man. He has bones all over Asia. But you can see his shin bone there. And you can also see the coast and all of the mountains and the cliff sides and the jungle and the banana plantations. It's just once you get up there, you're going to want to spend twice as long as it took you to hike up there to just enjoy the view. After you have seen Tiger Cave Temple and just enjoyed the area, you're actually really close to Krabi town. And that's separate from the Aonang Noparatara area, which is where all of the tourists hang out. Krabi town is very local. You're going to get there and you'll be hard pressed to see more than 3 other foreigners there. You'll meet a lot of Thai people. And if you go there on the weekend, you can actually see the Krabi town night market where you'll see a lot of the local Thai people coming and selling their handicrafts or the things that they've grown in their gardens. And my favorite part is they're very family oriented in that area of Krabi town. And so on the weekends, you can actually watch kids from the schools doing traditional Thai folk dancing dressed in royal garbs. And it's just one of the most authentic cultural experiences I've ever had anywhere, and especially in Thailand.
And I apologize for having the sense of humor of a 10-year-old that every time you say Krabi Town, I think, hey, I've been traveling and I've often been to Krabi Town while traveling. We should say that this has nothing to do with the disposition of the people, that Thailand is known for the friendliness of its people. So this is just coincidentally funny in English.
No, but it's true. The people in Thailand are some of the loveliest. They will smile at you for no good reason. And that's actually something I really recommend. Anybody traveling anywhere, but especially in Thailand where they so appreciate it, learn a little bit of the language before you go. Now, I'm not saying you have to come out being fluent in Thailand or even know conversational Thai, but definitely knowing things like hello and thank you goes such a long way. And frankly, they even get you better prices sometimes.
And hello would be?
สวัสดีค่ะ
And thank you would be?
ขอบคุณค่ะ But now here's the thing with Thailand. You end the sentences based off the gender that you identify with. I don't know if this is something that's been around in Thailand forever or because ladyboys are such a huge part of their culture. They needed a way to like tell them apart so that they could introduce themselves as what they identify. But for males, so Chris, you would say สวัสดีครับ with a P at the end. Versus I, as a female, would say สวัสดีค่ะ with almost like an AH and an extended like longness to the sentence.
Okay. Good
The
to
more
know.
you know. So phenomenal. You've gone and see Krabi Town. You'll probably spend a few hours there just walking around. They go along the river and you can see Tiger Cave Temple from there. It's just really peaceful. You'll even see people kayaking, mainly locals actually.
Well, and you mentioned the night market, and we've talked about night markets obviously on the show many times, but for people who are just tuning in for this episode, describe what a night market's like in Thailand.
There's typically folk Thai music in the background. You walk in and your nose is overwhelmed with all of these different scents. So you'll smell people cooking pad Thai or the sweetness of the pineapples and the mango sticky rice. It's basically where people come and gather. And especially in Thailand, they do this for fun oftentimes. But it's where you buy things. You can buy things like fruits or ready-made foods or handicrafts or even clothes. And at this night market, it's not particularly touristy. So you'll see them selling things like books or kids' backpacks or clothing that's very specific to the needs of that community.
And is there a particular thing when you're in this particular region of Thailand, if you're looking for crafts, you should look for the...
In Krabi specifically, there isn't anything specific to that area. Now, if we were talking about northern Thailand, they have Aka tribes and local minority groups around there that specialize in specific handicrafts. But in Krabi, it's mainly their food.
Okay.
That's very distinctly different from the rest of the country.
Okay, good to know.
On day 4, I really recommend that people take a couple of hours and drive to this place called the Emerald Pool. Now, it is a couple hours away, and this is where, again, I recommend that people take a motorbike because it's not a hard drive, and there's a lot of cool things to do around the Emerald Pool. So the Emerald Pool is still located in Krabi province, but being that it's a little bit more far out, you will not see a single foreigner. As a matter of fact, when we went, it was exclusively locals, and we got there right when it opened, and it was already slammed. My husband and I were literally running down the boardwalk, which was a beautiful walk. It was overarching with palm trees and crystal clear waters, and you're hearing the stream, so it was just really scenic. But we were running because at this time, we had just started our YouTube channel, so we're trying to get it with nobody there. That lasted all of 15 minutes. But it was cool. It had like a little waterfall and the water was crystal clear and you could see little fishes. And my favorite part about it wasn't even necessarily that the pool was so grandiose. It was seeing all of the Thai families going there with their babies. And everybody was teaching their babies how to swim or throwing them in the water, or they were playing with the mud on the side. It was just a really beautiful place to spectate into this local culture that not many people see.
And what I'm seeing is a naturally occurring pond, small lake in and amongst the jungle.
Yes, that's actually exactly what it is. I couldn't have described that more perfectly. And around that area, there's lots of things like this. The Emerald Pool being the most untouched. They do have hot springs right around the corner, but
Okay.
those have been kind of built out to be sort of like a hot tub, but not a hot tub. It's more like a bathtub that people don't really sit at. But it's still really cool to go and see. And it is still a hot springs. If you've never seen that before in your life and experienced like naturally hot water that the earth is doing this to, it's just really cool. So that will probably take the entire day going and seeing the Emerald Pool and the hikes that are around there and also the hot springs. So when people go back, I really do just recommend that they go and binge on some street food, walk around Ao Nang because that is a cool walking street, especially if you're looking to do any souvenir shopping. This is where you're going to be able to find your best bargains.
Okay.
So that would be for day 4. So after you've gone to Ao Nang, you've bought your souvenirs. If you like to hike, there is a mountain that you can hike that is really popular. It's right near Noparatara Beach. It's about 10 minutes away, and I believe it's called the Hong Nam Viewpoint. It's really famous, and it's been famous on Instagram because of how absolutely insanely dangerous the picture looks. So you do the climb and there's waterfalls all along and it's lush jungle. And again, you can see a lot of that same wildlife, the monkeys and the birds. But once you get to the very top, there's an overhanging rock where you get to sit about 400 feet above the ground that's below you. Now, it's not super duper dangerous to go and sit on this rock, or at least it wasn't, but the drop is pretty crazy. So you want to make sure that you don't slip or that may be the last picture you take in your whole life. They have since added a fence to this area because they want to deter tourists from doing something so dangerous just for the sake of a photo. But I have heard, and I'm not condoning this, that people do climb around this fence, that it's not particularly difficult and they can still take the picture. But again, that's one of those do at your own risk. Now, if you are not the adventurous hike type, there's still really cool things that you can do in Thailand that are very inexpensive that you may not usually take the luxury to do back home. For example, massages in Thailand are about $6 for an hour. And this is for a Thai massage. They'll put you down on a bed, turn you into a literal pretzel, crack your body, I don't know how many ways, but you feel like a new person afterward. That's definitely something that I recommend everybody does when they get to Thailand if they're okay with people touching them. Well,
No,
but it's true. Some people are a little funny about that.
I'm not a big fan actually, because of that whole thing. It's the personal space sort of thing. But every friend I know is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Thailand, and the first thing I'm going to do is get a massage.
Well, then we will end it there. If you are into people touching you and you're okay with trying a massage, there are $6 in Thailand for the hour. You could also do like foot reflexology ones, and those are even cheaper. I think that those come out to about $3, $4 for an hour of foot reflexology with a little stick and tiger balm. So just a relaxing place to be. You can stroll around, get into the pace of the southern Thai islands, which is what you go there for. Now, if hiking wasn't your thing, what I recommend that people do on day 5 instead is take an island hopping tour through the islands of Koh Phi Phi. Now, Koh Phi Phi is another archipelago of islands off to the west coast of Thailand, and those are very famous. They're very touristy, and they were known because of Leonardo DiCaprio's movie The Beach.
Right.
And that showed this beautiful place called Maya Bay, where it's just this gorgeous cove that's surrounded by, again, these crazy karst limestone cliffs and this beautiful crystal clear water. They have since closed Maya Bay to the public because of the environmental impact that it was having from over-tourism. But even though I don't recommend that you go onto Koh Phi Phi itself, taking an island tour from Krabi lets you see the best of Koh Phi Phi without seeing the worst of Koh Phi Phi, which is the enormous and ridiculous crowds. And those tours are really inexpensive. For about an 8-hour tour, you're paying $20, $25, and it usually includes lunch, obviously the boat hopping. So you're going to places like Bamboo Island, which is just a circle in the middle of the ocean of just beach. You get to go to Monkey Beach, where you get to literally hang out with the little thieves, not the cute ones, the actual thieves, the Thai mafia, long-tail macaque ones. So, but you get a couple of laughs because you see a bunch of tourists get their stuff stolen by these monkeys. Don't be that person. Do not bring food to this beach.
Okay.
But then at the end of the night, when everybody is done doing all of the island hopping, you are actually able to snorkel with the bioluminescent plankton in that area. And that to me is a highlight of any tour. When I first saw bioluminescent plankton, I think I stared at the water for 20 straight minutes with my husband twiddling his thumbs on the shore because he was not about getting in the water at night. But it's definitely an interesting sight to see, especially if you're in an area that has them.
Well, and if you're a longtime listener of the show, this part might sound a little familiar because we're starting to overlap a little bit with the episode we did most recently on Thailand, where basically in this bay that Krabi faces, you've got Phuket on the far side, and in the middle you've got you've got the city of Kai, and we talked about that in the last episode, and so we also did a day trip down to Koh Phi Phi.
Amazing. So now day 6. And this is a must-do if you're going to Thailand. Whether you go to Krabi or not, or you go and end up in Phuket, or you're just going to Bangkok, you have to go and see Khao Sok National Park. Now, this is technically in the province of Surat Thani, but it's only a 2-hour drive from Krabi, and it's an amazing overnight trip. What ends up happening is you take an overnight trip to this national park and you end up staying in a floating bungalow in the middle of a place called Lake Chatao. And you're surrounded by the world's oldest rainforest. It holds 5% of the world's biodiversity in both flora and fauna. And in Khao Sok National Park, once you get there, you're going to board a longtail boat that takes you through these crazy turquoise waters of the lake. The lake is so big, it literally feels like you are going through an ocean. And again, these crazy limestone karst cliffs are protruding from the water. You can see monkeys shaking the trees above you. And it takes you through the entire rainforest where you're able to see wild elephants and monkeys. We actually had the opportunity to do one of the night safaris, and we waited for 40 minutes while listening to the rustling of the trees from the Asian elephants that were in the background. It sounded like they were tearing apart the forest. They were talking about how they eat 1,000 kilograms of food per day. I was like, there's no wonder there aren't many elephants. If they had any more than 3 in the entire national park, they would have no trees. So anyway, really cool to go see. Also, during that, it's usually an all-inclusive bundle when you do the Khao Sok National Park and stay in the floating bungalow. They include all of these safaris, and one of the other ones that they did that was very interesting was we got to climb a waterfall in the middle of the rainforest and literally got to swing on vines like George of the Jungle. I had never seen anything like it.
I have done that, but it was a poison oak vine, so it turned out to be a really bad idea. So you have to be very careful who you go with.
You poor soul, how did that happen?
Oh, long story. Yours sounds much more fun.
Well, it wasn't poison oak, that's for sure. We got to swing on vines over the waterfall, which was crazy. It was honestly a little bit more difficult than I thought because you're having to hoist yourself up.
Yep.
And once the vine escapes you, you're like 20 feet above the ground. And so that's a point where you really don't want to let go. And I was terrified of heights. So anyway, I freaked out a little bit, but still so worth the hike. A little bit dangerous just because you're in the forest and you're in the jungle and going through the waterfall, things can be a little bit slippery.
Sure.
Or there's puddles that you think are, 4 inches deep and they end up being a foot deep and you almost break your leg. And also, I think that this is something important to note. Khao Sok National Park is an amazing place and it's beautiful, but it's also one of those remote locations that the CDC warns you about when you're traveling.
Okay.
It's a remote jungle. And my husband and friend who were on the same trip got dengue fever while they were there.
Oh, my. Okay.
Yes. So although Daniel, my husband, who got dengue fever, is going back there again in March because we loved it that much, so it wasn't enough of a deterrent. Clearly, the place was that worth it. We do recommend that you take bug spray and that you wear long sleeves and long pants while you're there. Even if it's just a dry fit, yes, it's hot and humid, but I promise you dengue fever is going to be much worse.
Well, and dengue fever, for people who don't know, is another mosquito-borne disease. So that's why we're wearing the long pants and such. Okay?
Absolutely. And my husband felt terrible for a week. We didn't even know that dengue was a problem in Thailand. And it isn't usually. But again, this is in the middle of the forest. If you were going to catch anything, you were going to catch it here.
Now, when you go someplace where malaria is an issue, there are prophylactics you can take, like Malarone and such. I don't know with dengue. I've never been someplace that had dengue fever. Are there similar things that you could take as a precaution?
Unfortunately, no. The Thai government was trying to pass out dengue vaccines, but it was very questionable. It was one of those tests. It's not something that's official like Malarone that you can just go to the doctor and get something preventative. The only thing that you can do for dengue is be preventative in the sense of what you're wearing and wearing bug spray.
Okay. Good to know.
So the next day, so you have gone on several safaris, you have now climbed a waterfall. The next day when you're in Khao National Park, and specifically staying on the floating bungalows that we recommend, is the first part of the day is just relaxing. You get to kayak. They have kayaks that are included. And so you can kind of do your own little adventure, going around the lake, going for a swim. My favorite part, though, of the evening time in Khao Sok is the floating bungalows. All of the power shuts down at 10 p.m.
Okay.
And it doesn't sound like a favorite part. And no, there's no air conditioning. So you do have to deal with a little bit of the mugginess.
Yep.
But if you've never seen a sky full of stars before, here is your chance. You're in the middle of the jungle. You hear all of the crickets around you. You're on a floating bungalow. So you're right on the lake, and you can hear almost like the trickling of the lake. And you look up and it's just white with stars, and you could see all of the constellations and the Milky Way. And it was just so neat to be there. You feel so in nature during Khao Sok National Park's tour.
Well, and how expensive an experience is this?
We went with a little bit more of an expensive experience.
Yep.
It was $121 for an overnight tour.
Okay.
It took us on 3 safaris, included the accommodations in the floating bungalow, included a buffet lunch, a buffet dinner, and a buffet breakfast.
Okay.
And that was more expensive because we got the private tour. So it was just one guy for our 4 friends.
Huh.
People were getting it for, I think, like $80 for this overnight trip that was all inclusive to this remote jungle.
Okay.
Nowadays, you can't even go to Disney World for that price. Magic Kingdom's like $130.
No, yeah. Without meals. Yep.
Exactly. The best way to get there, if you wanted to go to Khao Sok National Park, is definitely, if you don't have a motorbike, is take a Grab. Because you don't want other people, like especially, and I know that we talked about, well, not we, but you had talked about this during your Chennai episode, where this is just the way of life in Asia. When you take a tuk-tuk or any other method, they're going to try and upsell you or take you to your friend or, hey, are you sure you don't want pad thai or a suit today?
Yes.
So to prevent those things, I do recommend that you just take a Grab there or pre-arrange with the tour desks around that Krabi province area to have a transfer there. And you can actually book it through them. And now as far as getting the best price from them, because you'll notice that the first person that you ask will charge you 2,000 baht or $130, and then the next person will charge you something less.
Sure.
So I definitely recommend that you go to the first stall, you ask them how much the price is, and then you specifically say the words, what is the best price that you can give me, my friend? And maybe throw in some Thai words in there. They'll lower the price by probably 200 baht, which is about $6. And then you say, thank you very much. And you take that new price to the next person at the next stall and see what best price they can give you then. So after you do this, you have like a running lowest price. And then you can go back to your favorite person, whoever was the sweetest, and be like, listen, so-and-so gave it to me for X price. Can you give it to me for the same price? I want to give you my business.
Sounds good.
Pro tip.
Yep.
And so that actually concludes the 7-day itinerary through Krabi, Thailand. And it really takes you through a mixture of the beaches and the islands and the nature and the hikes and one of the most beautiful rainforests in the whole entire world.
Excellent. As we get to some of our wrap-up questions, you are standing in the prettiest spot in Krabi province. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
You are standing on Railay West at sunset. You're sitting down feeling the slightly damp sand from the high tide earlier in the day and watching the sun turn hot pink, electric purple, and orange while it casts a silhouette on Phuket.
Excellent. And one thing that makes you laugh and say only in Krabi.
There's so many things. You're on a longtail boat on the way to Railay Beach, and the guy stops the boat in the middle of the ocean because he got a phone call and starts having a full-on conversation in Thai with all of these people on the boat in the middle of the water. Only in Krabi.
Got it. There's something about tropical or warm areas that have a different sense of time.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
We call it mañana in Mexico, but it's very similar. Different places in the world. It's something about It's lovely out, or maybe it's just hot out, and we don't have the same sense of urgency.
No. And honestly, that's I think why I'm so in love with the Thai Islands is
Yep.
we love that. It's the perfect place where you are forced to slow down. If you have anything on a tight schedule, go ahead and kiss that goodbye. But that's why you go there. You go there to experience something totally different and you look around and then you wonder in your own life like what's the hurry?
Excellent. Our guest again has been Annette Fortner from chaseforadventure.com. And Annette, if we wanted to send people to your website or your YouTube channel for the best content you have on Krabi, where are we going to send them? What are they going to be looking for?
Okay, so on chaseforadventure.com, I have a full guide of the 10 best places in Thailand, and we include where to stay, where to eat, what to do there, and even videos of us at these locations doing the exact things that we recommend. So it's just an amazingly comprehensive post, and we include a totally free 2-week Thailand itinerary for anybody who's interested, and it's printable. So if you're going to Thailand next week and you want to have a full itinerary discussing in detail some of the things that we talked about this episode, it's a great place for you to go. And on our YouTube channel, we have our Thailand Adventures playlist that has over 60 videos now on Thailand, even teaching people how to negotiate, how to say some basic Thai phrases for travelers, and also talking about Thailand itineraries.
Excellent. Now, one thing we didn't talk about is, we talked about a couple different street dishes and such. Is there a favorite place that you want to send people to eat?
When you go to Noparatara, next to the Holiday Inn Express, there is going to be a papaya salad stand. It almost looks like a shack.
Okay. Yeah.
And it says papaya salad. It's directly next to the Holiday Inn Express. It's absolutely the best street food in Thailand, and we have been all over that country.
Excellent. Annette, thank you so much for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your love for Thailand, but especially your love for Krabi.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. It's been a pleasure.
I don't have anything new in the news of the community this week, so I want to wish you and yours a Merry Christmas or whatever holiday you're celebrating, since this is coming out on the 21st of December, 2019. And if you're listening to it later on, merry whatever holiday happens to be close. With that, we're going to end this episode of The Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to host@amateurtraveler.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening.
I got to see one more cathedral.